Title: Single dad danced with the CEO's scarred daughter, and she said, "I won't forget you." Chapter 1: The dance no one expected. The music was soft, elegant, and far too expensive for a man like Daniel Carter. He stood near the wall of the grand ballroom, nervously adjusting the sleeves of his worn suit. Crystal chandeliers glittered above him, and the polished marble floor reflected the lights like a mirror. Wealthy guests laughed and clinked glasses of champagne, their voices blending with the orchestra playing gentle violin music. Daniel felt out of place. But he wasn't here for himself. He was here for his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Lily held his hand tightly, her small fingers wrapped around his rough palm. Her wide eyes sparkled as she looked around the ballroom. "Daddy, this place looks like a castle," she whispered. Daniel smiled softly. "Yeah, sweetheart, it kinda does." The invitation to the charity gala had come unexpectedly. Daniel worked 2 jobs, driving a delivery van during the day and cleaning offices at night. The charity event was hosted by one of the companies he cleaned for. One of the managers had noticed Lily waiting quietly in the lobby during Daniel's late shifts. "You should bring her to the charity gala," the woman had said kindly. "Kids are welcome. There will be music, food, it might make her happy." Daniel had hesitated, but Lily hadn't been anywhere special in years. So he borrowed a suit from a coworker and brought her. At the far end of the ballroom stood the host of the evening, billionaire CEO Victor Langston. The man owned a massive technology company and was known for both his wealth and his strict personality. But tonight, he wasn't the center of attention. His daughter was. Sophia Langston stood near the stage, wearing a beautiful silver dress. She was around 20 years old, tall and graceful. But everyone noticed the scars. A burn scar stretched across one side of her face and neck. Though makeup softened it slightly, the marks were still visible under the lights. Some guests pretended not to notice. Others stared. Sophia noticed both. Daniel saw the way people avoided her eyes. The way conversations stopped when she passed by. The orchestra suddenly changed its tune to a slow waltz. Couples began stepping onto the dance floor. Lily tugged Daniel's sleeve. "Daddy, can we dance?" Daniel chuckled nervously. "Me, I don't even know how. But you promised Mom before she died that we would always dance when music plays," Lily said quietly. Daniel's heart tightened. 3 years ago, Lily's mother had passed away from illness. Since then, Daniel had done everything he could to keep his promises. Even when life made it hard. He took a deep breath. "All right," he said softly. "Let's dance." He stepped onto the floor with Lily standing on his shoes, giggling as he moved slowly with the music. People around them smiled warmly. But someone else was watching. Sophia Langston. She stood at the edge of the dance floor, holding a glass of sparkling water. For most of the evening, no one had asked her to dance. Not because she wasn't beautiful, but because people were afraid of saying the wrong thing, or staring too long, or acknowledging the scars. Daniel noticed her standing alone. He watched the way her eyes followed the dancers but never stepped forward. For a moment, he hesitated. Then he turned to Lily. "Sweetheart, want to sit for a minute?" Lily nodded and ran toward the dessert table. Daniel walked slowly toward Sophia. People nearby glanced curiously at him. He clearly didn't belong among the wealthy guests. Sophia looked surprised when he stopped in front of her. "Hi," Daniel said politely. She blinked. "Hello." He gestured toward the dance floor. "Would you like to dance?" Sophia stared at him as if she had misheard. "You want to dance with me?" Daniel shrugged with a gentle smile. "The music's too good to waste standing still." For a moment, she looked uncertain. Then she placed her glass on a nearby table. "All right." They stepped onto the floor together. Some guests whispered quietly. Victor Langston noticed too. Daniel moved carefully, not perfectly, but with a natural kindness that made Sophia relax. "You're not afraid to look at me," she said after a moment. Daniel frowned slightly. "Why would I be? My scars." Daniel glanced at them briefly. "They look like a story." She raised an eyebrow. "A story?" "Yeah," he said. "Every scar means someone survived something." Sophia looked at him differently now. "I survived a car accident," she said softly. 5 surgeries. Daniel nodded respectfully. "That's a strong story." For the first time that evening, Sophia smiled. The music slowed. Their dance ended. As they stepped off the floor, Sophia looked at him and said quietly, "I won't forget you." Daniel simply nodded politely and returned to Lily. But Victor Langston had seen everything. And he was thinking. Chapter 2: The Promise That Changed Everything. The next morning, Daniel's alarm rang at 5 a.m. His tiny apartment was quiet except for the sound of Lily breathing softly in the next room. Daniel got dressed and headed to work, assuming the gala was just a brief, strange moment in his ordinary life. But by noon, his phone rang. Hello, Mr. Carter, a professional voice asked. Yes, this is Langston Technologies. Mr. Victor Langston would like to meet with you. Daniel almost dropped the phone. The CEO. Yes. Today, if possible. Daniel arrived at the towering glass building an hour later, nervous and confused. When he entered the office, Victor Langston stood near the window overlooking the city. The billionaire turned around slowly. You're Daniel Carter. Yes, sir. Victor studied him carefully. My daughter told me about your conversation last night. Daniel suddenly worried. I'm sorry if I did something inappropriate. Victor raised a hand. You did something rare. Daniel blinked. You treated her like a normal person. Victor's voice softened slightly. Since her accident, people either pity her, or avoid her. Daniel nodded quietly. Victor continued. She told me what you said about scars being stories. Daniel shrugged slightly. It's true. Victor leaned forward. You're a janitor here, but before that, you studied engineering. Daniel looked shocked. How did you know? I checked. Daniel sighed. I had to quit when my wife got sick. Medical bills. Raising Lily alone. Victor nodded. Then he said something unexpected. My company needs people who understand struggle. Daniel frowned. I don't understand. Victor slid a folder across the desk. A job offer. Junior engineer. Daniel's hands trembled as he opened it. The salary was more than triple his current income. Why? Daniel asked quietly. Victor answered simply. Because character matters more than resumes. Just then, the office door opened. Sophia walked in. She smiled when she saw Daniel. I told you I wouldn't forget you. Daniel laughed softly. Months passed. Daniel worked hard at his new job. His natural talent quickly impressed his team. Lily started attending a better school. Sophia and Daniel became close friends. They often met for coffee, talking about life, loss, and healing. Sophia slowly regained her confidence. She even started a charity foundation for burn survivors. One evening, during another charity gala, the orchestra began playing again. Sophia walked up to Daniel. Dance. Daniel smiled. Of course. They stepped onto the floor again. This time, the room wasn't whispering. People were watching with admiration. As the music played, Sophia said softly, You changed my life that night. Daniel shook his head. No, you just needed someone to remind you that scars don't define you. Sophia smiled. And you needed someone to open a door. Across the room, Lily clapped happily. The orchestra swelled. And in that moment, Daniel realized something powerful. Kindness doesn't just change a moment. Sometimes, it changes entire lives. The end. If you want, I can also give you 10 viral hyper-realistic image prompts, scene by scene, for YouTube. SEO title plus description plus keywords plus hashtags to help this story reach 1M views. English 3. Entering the luxury ballroom. Prompt. A nervous single dad holding his young daughter's hand as they enter a luxurious charity ballroom filled with wealthy guests, crystal chandeliers above, elegant dresses and suits everywhere, the father looking slightly out of place but determined, realistic social contrast, candid photography style.